Since the war in Ukraine began nearly 7 weeks ago, prices are rising. And not just for Americans. The price of everything, from gas to fertilizer to food, is rising across the globe in countries as far from the conflict as Morocco, Brazil, and India. President Joe Biden has minted his own slogan to explain it: the Putin price hike.
I'm doing everything within my power by executive orders to bring down the price and address the Putin price hike. In fact, we've already made progress since March inflation data was collected. Your family budget, your ability to fill up your tank, none of it should hinge on whether a dictator declares war and commits genocide in half a world away.
During a visit to Iowa Tuesday, he raised the percentage of ethanol that can be blended into gasoline, a move that will tamp down gas prices, but at a risk of creating more smog. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has seen a rise in global food commodity prices, with the United Nations Food Agency saying the war has driven rises in wheat, maize, and vegetable oil. But economists also cite a broader, longer trend of rising commodity prices, policy support for inflation, the release of pent-up demand, and disruptions to the supply chain. Conservative analysts say Putin is not the sole culprit, or even the biggest one.
And this happened long before Putin's invasion of Ukraine. So the administration went from saying there is no inflation to then saying, well, there's inflation, but it's transitory, so don't worry about it. And then inflation became a high-class problem. And then finally, inflation was good. Now they have flipped the script yet again. Not only is inflation bad, but now it's not their fault. Now it's Putin's fault. I estimate that about 8 percentage points of the 8.5 percentage point gain we've seen over the last year has nothing to do with the invasion of Ukraine. That is only a recent phenomenon, and it does not explain the run-up in prices, particularly energy prices, from before the invasion.
Others say Putin deserves a bigger share of the blame.
Had there been no war, I think you could argue that the prices would have peaked and begun to decline. With the war, yes, it is a Putin price hike. I think there's no question about it. As I said before, he didn't start all this, started way before the war. But he's made everything worse, and he deserves a good share of the blame for that.
Russia's economy, too, has been hard hit by the waves of sanctions imposed by the U.S. and NATO allies. The nation's central bank has propped up the ruble by dramatically raising interest rates and imposing other controls. Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.